I could have a whole episode on why I didn't like Elder Scrolls Online, but that's not for this place. So.
Oh, you're gonna have the haters in the comments.
Welcome to Disparate Worlds, where an irresistible force meets an immovable object. I'm Mox, and this is Sakari. We're comparing and contrasting the worlds of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Ashes of Creation.
That is right. Welcome to our inaugural episode. It's our very first one, Mox. Congratulations to us for getting started.
Yes, we actually got something off the ground.
Right, I know. Hard work, much hard work until this point. So, our episode topic is key features of the two MMOs that we both desperately want to play. So stay tuned and we'll get into that here in a moment. For now, Mox, I was thinking, why would these people care about you and me, right?
Well, they probably won't.
They don't know us.
Have like 3 views.
Yeah.
So
We'll probably drive them off, that's true. But I was thinking maybe what we should try to do is to justify our existence here on YouTube and let them know maybe a little bit more about us, you know, it's worth mentioning, I guess, that you and I both have profile pictures on our website, disparateworlds.org, and not just pictures, actually, whole profiles. Right? So they can go there to if they care to know more about us, there's their options. So, 3 quick questions we're going to ask as both of us. We're going to kind of answer them, and at least you get a little bit of context as to who we are. Question number 1 is, what is your gaming style in a word? Question number 2, what MMOs have you played? And question number 3, what aspects of MMOs do you like most? Okay, so I'm going to let Mox be the guinea pig on this one.
Of course. Alright, so my gaming style in one word, and I cheated. I chose 2 words, so, we can pretend they're hyphenated, I guess.
You're a Pantheon player, it's okay.
Whatever, man.
I can take it.
Alright, so I said that I'm a social explorer. I play games to enjoy time with my friends, and then within the game itself, I enjoy exploring and doing quests and things of that nature. What about you?
Oh, for me, for the most part, what am I? I would say completionist. Boy, you're not even surprised at that.
Insufferable completionist.
Insufferable. And it's because of thoroughness. I enjoy experiencing absolutely everything a game has to offer to the fullest.
Yeah.
So it actually does come from a good place, I promise, even though I'm tedious and you have to put up with it.
Right. All right, so we're going to turn tables around, and you tell me which MMOs have you played?
Okay, yeah, I could do that. I started with Star Wars Galaxies. I have many friends still from Galaxies back in the day. When that exploded, and don't even get me started, I would transition to Guild Wars 1 for a while. Was playing that and enjoying that. I played that till I was sick of it. It was a really good MMO, and I really actually miss it. And then I heard that Star Wars: The Old Republic was coming out. And that's where you and I met, Mox, as content creators for SWTOR. Yep. But before that, I was waiting. It was December, I think, or something, 2009. I'd heard about it. I knew something was coming. I was kind of getting tired of Guild Wars 1, having done that so much. I dabbled a bit with Ion in that interim period. 2011, at the end of the year, SWTOR in public, and I played that. I may have dabbled a little bit with Guild Wars 2. But I played SWTOR, for, what is it, up to 8 years until this point. When it comes to World of Warcraft, I never did try it. I kind of regret and wish I had, but I don't like being a noob so far in. And if I've never done it now, I'm never going to ever have tried it out. Never dabbled with BDO. And Final Fantasy 14. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite an anime fan, so that one doesn't quite have the appeal to me, I think, that it might to some others. What about you? What MMOs, have you played before?
I have a lengthy resume. Mine goes back all the way to about 1998 or so, when EverQuest came out, and which really is the driving force as to why I'm a big Pantheon fan. So EverQuest, EverQuest 2, Vanguard, Dark Age of Camelot, World of Warcraft, SWTOR, Guild Wars 2 are all ones I played extensively. And then, like you, I dabbled in a few others, like Final Fantasy 14. And I am an anime fan, but I just did not have a lot of friends playing it, so it was challenging for me. Being a social explorer, I need my friends to be in the games that I'm playing, and they just weren't around. Like, nobody wanted to play that, so it
Right.
didn't last. Black Desert Online didn't last either. Didn't really care for the gameplay and kind of the quest structuring in there. And then I could have a whole episode on why I didn't like Elder Scrolls Online, but that's not for this place. So
Oh, you're gonna have the haters in the comments.
Well,
but hey, you might as well, right?
I'm being honest. I didn't like it. So,
Right.
I think.
Well, I mean, hey,
I think.
I just came on the record saying I wasn't an anime fan.
Yeah.
So, I expect to have it as well,
Yeah.
right? I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I think I played ESO for maybe 3 hours before I gave up on it. So,
Okay.
I mean, when I say I dabbled, like, that really was, like, barely getting my toe in the
Dabbled.
water, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so... That's it.
Well, at least you got your toe wet,
Right.
right? I mean, I guess you can say that you tried it and gave it a good, a good shot, quote unquote.
I can pretend I bathed that week.
Right. Hey, there you go. Hey, whatever gets you there, we'll make it work. All right. So the final question was, what aspects of MMOs do you like most?
I would honestly just say refer back to question 1. I like the social portion of MMOs. I like exploring, doing quests, dungeon runs in SWTOR. They're called flashpoints. All that stuff. Doing that content with my friends and guildmates and people that I'm choosing to spend a good portion of my downtime with.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
To answer that question myself, I would say the aspect of MMOs I most like is exploration. I love big world maps. I mean, make them huge. Give me deep, dark caves that I can venture into and find the secrets in. Little things up in the hills. I love cartography. Making of maps and having been the author of this and finding cool things on the map and putting that out there. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So definitely exploration. And that's just with regard to game mechanics, right? As well as map exploration. So, and then I would also tack on raiding and coordinated grouping. I think I'm kind of like you, a little bit of the social explorer, probably. I love to bring a group of people together if we're all friends and we're all studying the game together. And we all are learning our roles and learning when to do what and coordinated gameplay. And when you pull it off and you did it together, I think that is I just love it. So, all right. That's who we are, kind of in a nutshell. Moving right along. Okay, so we have these 2 games on the horizon, Marks. Both are in pre-alpha. But not going to be pre-alpha for very long. I mean, I don't think it's going to be long at all. I know that in the Ashes world, we're talking about Alpha 1 before the end of the year. So this stuff is coming hot. So along those lines, we wanted to get our show going right so that it can kind of grow when, as these games grow, as the communities begin to come together, we want it to be a part of that. So that's kind of why we're starting our channel right now. I do want to throw a quick disclaimer in before we begin kind of what we're talking about tonight. All of what we say here is to the best of our knowledge. We want to be very careful to say this. We have researched and we're going into things, we're fact-checking ourselves and making sure we got it right. But you just never know. We may step on ourselves and get in our own way. I'm fully kind of expecting that here and there. By all means, in the comments, leave us feedback. If there's something that we did get wrong, correct it for us. We would appreciate it. We very much appreciate the feedback, and we'll do what we can, where necessary to react with it and handle it responsibly. Okay. The big question for us, right, is why these 2 games? What makes them different from all of the MMOs out there? Along those lines, what makes them attractive? Why do we want to play these games? And what singles them out? Why also form a whole channel around this? So what we decided we were going to do with our topic for this discussion was we're going to have an easy one. Now, we're going to compete later, I promise. You're going to see a lot of that from us. It'll happen. I'm not going to go into it too much because if I get started, I'll never stop. So,
he got his
and neither will you.
His PV peanut butter and my chocolate.
Yes, yes, it was terrible, but you know we'll the peanut butter will win. Just wait. Okay. So what we thought we would do is each pick 4 key features, just of our respective games. Again, Mox, you are the representative of Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen, right? You are the advocate, and I'm the advocate of Ashes of Creation. So we bring both of those to the table. 4 key features of each game that we really like and that we think makes this game worth playing. So I'm going to throw the ball to you, Mox. You tell me, what would be the first feature of Pantheon that makes it attractive to you?
Okay. I interpret this to be maybe a little bit more esoteric or existential, maybe would be the word, as opposed to coming out with a specific game feature like climbing or you know, for it to take something from Ashes, for example, nodes. This more is like the kind of things that Pantheon's built around, and I took them to be the reasons that I think, and 4 key things that are part of the game that they're kind of structuring it. So the first one for me is that no single player should ever be able to do anything on their own. This is one of Pantheon's tenets. This is an MMO. That second M has meaning. It means multiplayer. If you want to play solo, that's your choice. But that
go play another game
or play another game, right? But you know, if you do want to solo, it should be hard. It should be very, very hard, as a matter of fact, to accomplish that. You shouldn't be able to do the same thing that I can do with a group soloing, regardless of your class. So. No single player should be able to do everything. So story and lore should take you into places where you have to recruit others to help. Frodo didn't go into Mordor alone. So you know that's the kind of deal that we're thing that we're dealing with. So soloing a dragon, I think, would just be a silly concept. So in other games, you have situations where people are in an MMO and then they complain when a story takes them into a group function or a raid function to kind of finally face the big bad guy. Well, that's what these stories are. They're epic stories. They're not solo stories.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Is there any place for solo content in this game that you know of, or that you can think could be justified?
I believe that soloing is going to be accessible, but you won't be able to necessarily do it easily. Is kind of the understanding that I have from not having had my hands on the the game. I could tell you that, I don't really know if you can solo. I know that when you first start off from watching gameplay feeds and such, that you are soloing. You're going around killing very simple mobs to begin with. But I'm sure as things go along, it'll then be, much more difficult or lengthy to accomplish that task.
Yes, I think you have to learn your class somewhere, right? I mean, at some stage you need to go out there and learn all the skills. And if you're doing that in the midst of a group, there's more pressure to perform and to move along, so I can see that there would be at least some necessity, at least especially early maybe, to have that and do that.
Right.
Sure.
Right. So that's my first point. So tell me, what about you? What is your first thing that you think is most important about Ashes of Creation and why you want to play it?
Okay. All right. So I interpreted this question to be a lot more hands-on, right? I'm like, here's a thing in the game I actually know is out there and like.
Right.
So dynamic open worlds, I think, is what this is about. So let me be very brief with this. We're actually going to link, by the way, in our description below, a couple of videos, and we'll come back to them a little later, but that are really good explanations of Pantheon and Ashes of Creation respectively. So I'm going to let them do the explanation on this for now. Really briefly, the game world of Ashes of Creation is divided up into what they call nodes. There's about 103 of them that we're aware of right now. I don't know about non-node areas, right? Every one of those nodes has 6 tiers, and it's an area. It's a potential city with its jurisdiction. So you and your friends go and you're in an area and you're fighting and working, and as you accumulate XP, that node begins to level up. And there's 6 levels that it can reach where the town that's there grows. With every one of those levels, it unlocks level-specific features. And this is what I like about it, because it makes the game world so dynamic. There are raids that are available at a certain node level. There are quests that are available at a certain node level, or certain NPCs that are available at a certain node level. And so, the interesting thing is that when any node that levels up to a level locks out the nodes next to it, adjacent nodes, from leveling up to the same level. And so that creates a bit of competition between the nodes. But what that means is that because now, if you are sitting on a tier 6 metropolis, for instance, on your node, the node next door can't have its tier 6 content, and there may be raids and quests and things that are only available at tier 6 on that node that people want access to. And so, and there's more mechanics about, war between nodes. I can go into that later on, but nodes have different types. I mean, there's divine, where it's more kind of religious in orientation. Economic nodes, where it's really more, like about markets and stock exchanges, that kind of thing. Militaristic, scientific, where it's more about study and libraries and all of that kind of thing. So there's this really cool mayor system where you can become the mayor of a node. So I think that kind of unlocks things like kind of becoming server famous. You may be the most famous mayor on the server because you're like the mayor of New York City in that that server node. So a lot of cool things with the node feature, I think, in Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, definitely. It intrigues me, the idea. There are some drawbacks that when we finally get around to having a discussion about nodes in depth, you and I can go into. But yeah, nodes are it definitely makes it dynamic. If that's what they're looking for, that's what they're getting. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely dynamic worlds. Yeah. All right, so you throw out, what is your next chosen feature of Pantheon?
Okay, my next chosen feature is that combat needs to be immersive with engaging group mechanics. So, right now out there in the MMO world, we have situations where literally you can go into a dungeon or a flashpoint or whatever, and you can literally pull dozens of mobs to your group, and they just survive. And and you do that all while like not even talking to the group. The tank zones in and boom, they're running down the hall pulling everything, and you're expected to just AoE them down to death and know what's going on. And while this is fine for some trivial content, when you're on level, your content should force you to make a plan. You should have to consider, what am I going to do if I pull a second mob? And really, you should be fearing for your avatar's life if you pull a third.
Yes, you've got to have a strategy for crowd control. Yeah, I fully agree.
Right. And in my stint in World of Warcraft, like you had people that classes that had the ability to root or to stun or whatever. They were just ignored. They were just like, the tanks would be like, "Why are you doing that? I need to get aggro on that third mob, that 8th mob, that 12th mob, whatever." And instead of, it just was all about zerging this stuff down. So, yeah, you definitely should have engaging group mechanics, where you, if you're pulling 2 mobs, there should be some sort of support class that, and EverQuest had this in the form of an enchanter that could stun the mob. And then when it's stunned, they can then mesmerize it, which basically just lets it stand there dazed while you, while you fought. Now, there were timers on that sort of thing, so you had to, your enchanter, and the enchanter was building up a lot of threat, and they were a cloth class. So there's a lot of strategy and thought, well, what am I going to do when we break this? Because it's going to go right.
Because someone is going to AoE.
Right.
Someone is going to AoE, right? It's just it's the classic issue with crowd control.
Exactly. So that is the kind of thing and type of thing that makes grouping fun. It makes encounters fun. It makes breaking into a dungeon fun, as opposed to just pulling everything at once. So
yes,
that is
absolutely
important.
Yeah, and I agree. Like that's the coordinated gameplay I was talking about earlier, right? Like everybody, okay, we're gonna get into this, but you need to make sure that guy can come at us. Be ready, kind of be watching out of the corner of your eye, and that matters.
Yeah.
To be able to handle the contingencies when they present themselves.
Exactly. And this feeds back to no player being able to do everything on their own. So you had your support classes that specialized in mesmerizing and stunning and feeding mana to your group. And then you had your classes that were pure damage dealers. You had your classes that were good at pulling. Yeah, so that was what was great about EverQuest. And I know that the plan is for some of those features to find their way into Pantheon, since it is the brainchild of the creative director of EverQuest.
A brainchild / grandchild,
Right.
right, of all of these games that you've experienced before.
Right. All right. So,
Yeah, for sure.
what do you got for number 2?
All right, number 2, why Ashes of Creation is more awesome. I'm sorry, more awesome, is player housing. I think is phenomenal in this game. Just what I have seen is incredible. Every node, of course, grants citizenship. You can declare citizenship in that node, and by doing that, you are entitled to, I think, there's 3 different types of housing. One, I think you can only have per account. But there's other ones that you can have where you for instance, have an apartment in a node. So it could be an apartment in a city, and it's really cool. Like as the mayor can say, I want to build an apartment building here. And then the whole crowd that's building that node works on it and contributes resources, and boom, you have an apartment building. Well, then it's instanced, right? So everybody, you can have as many apartments as you want there, but the more popular that spot is, the more expensive the apartments are. So, if it's cheaper when there's less demand on a certain apartment building than when there's more demand on another apartment building. So the one that's in more demand is more expensive, and that's how they limit folks going there. People may pick something that's more affordable elsewhere. That's a really cool, to me, novel mechanic. I've not seen that anywhere before, so I like that kind of thinking.
Yeah, the dynamic pricing is interesting for sure.
Now we'll see. Hopefully it's got to be manageable,
right.
But that's again for a discussion down the road when we talk about this. Static housing is another one, right? You can, if you can get in there to a node when it's a level 2 node and buy a little house. It's a little shack, right? It's nothing, or maybe a little cottage, little one-room thing. But as that node levels, you get to a metropolis area. It can be a mansion, and you can sell it. So there's actually going to be real estate investing, I think, in this game, where people are invested in something, they sell the place, they bank, then they may go join the other side that raids the node, right, and levels it all, and then they start from scratch. So I think there's the real estate. To see that happen in an MMO, I think is very cool.
Yeah.
Everybody has what they call a freehold. It's in the jurisdiction of a node, but you can it's like a half-acre plot, and so you can have a little house on it, but you can put a blacksmith on it, stuff that matters to your class, or like a guild hall if you want to do that, or a smelter, that kind of, or stable if you're into animal husbandry, all of that kind of cool stuff. This is huge as to what all is involved in that, but I'll sum this all up by saying that I think the player housing is very well thought out. There's a lot of implications that, again, we're going to unpack in future episodes, but I'm very excited about just about housing in general in Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, it definitely seems it seems like they've given a lot of thought, and it seems like it is it covers like a lot of the bases. It gives you cheap housing, in a small apartment, a big old house out in the country. Very interesting.
Okay, on to question number 3, or at least key feature number 3. What is the third one that you picked?
So the third thing that I picked is that we need to have difficult content with consequences. So this points again back to features 1 and 2. So if you drive players to group and do group content, and you make that group content engaging with things like line of sight pulls, crowd controls, and then actually have consequences for failing, then people will be forced to talk and make a plan. And if you fail in this, you're going to end up making a corpse run and losing experience. So, and what I mean by corpse run is when you die in Pantheon, you respawn at your bind point. And those are going to be
naked.
Those are going to be various. You will have your gear, but your backpack and your gold and all that stuff is going to be on your corpse, way back wherever you were.
I see.
So you're going to have.
So all of the loot, all of the stuff that you've been picking up on the run is all out there, and it's just it's under threat.
Right. So that's what they mean by consequences. And then also, there's going to be some sort of penalty for dying in the form of experience loss. Now, with experience loss, that they haven't said yet as to whether or not that will potentially cause you to go backwards in levels, or if you'll just go into experience debt. If you're very new to a level and you die, you may go backwards. Funny story, in playing EverQuest one day, and I played a cleric, and they were terrible at soloing, but I was stubborn and wanted to prove that clerics could solo. So over the course of a weekend, I lost 3 levels. So, and for those of you that played EverQuest, know that that's a huge deal because levels did not come easily. So yeah, and that's good. You know, it forces you to group, and it forces you to think about stuff, as opposed to how games are now. Like I said, running into a dungeon and just pulling the whole thing. Nobody cares because, oh, we got the boss dead. Okay, great, we can move on to the next one. You just respawn at the entrance. So
right,
it's very important to have consequences.
Yes, and I think that's something that we're probably going to see in both of these games is the risk, right? That what the nature of risk has been revisited and revisioned. If you're going to go in there and do something, hey, there's some really good rewards if you can pull this off, so be careful and be coordinated with it. But boy, there's some loss too.
Yeah.
That can happen as well. So
absolutely,
definitely.
So how about for you? What's your number 3?
All right, so destructible environments, I think is number 3. Just in kind of looking and learning about all of this, just the nature of, again, in a dynamic world where, things are building, to keep things new and changing and fluctuating, you've got to have some kind of destruction mechanic in there. Which again, we were just talking about risk, right? Risk and reward, but there's also risk and loss. If you're going to have a house, I mean, here in the real world, if you're going to have a house, it is subject to fire damage. It is subject to water damage. There is some risk associated with that. And we see the same thing happening in Ashes as well. There's a thing called node sieges again, where if my node is leveled up and your node is not leveled up and you want a leveled up node, but you live next door, you've got to come fight me for it and de-level my node. And if so, everything is destructible in the world. Like, you can come over, and instead, if you don't want to, let's say my node is an economic node, and you don't have the wherewithal really, or the force to really come just level the whole thing, you can go target just one building if you want, right? Go for the stock exchange. We want to cripple them economically and come in, and we've got to defend our stock exchange. So you have that, and the damage you do to the building, buildings have hit points, and if you damage it below 25%, it ceases to function. We have to go repair it before we can get those services back, and that requires a big group effort. Everyone's got to go do quests, gather materials and such to do that. So I think that's kind of exciting, because I think it makes the world very much more political. Also with housing, and then also with infrastructure. If you go attack a node and you're hitting the bridges and you're hitting the roads and things, that is reflected in the environment. That damage stays there, and that community that is supporting that node has to build that back up. So a war-torn environment looks like a war-torn environment, and I think that's really cool that the environment, the world, reflects the actions, the choices of its players in terms of war. So,
and you and I, this is one of our key points that we definitely disagree on.
Yes, we will definitely be invading each other's points.
Yeah, I find this whole idea to be just like a anathema to me. Like, I do not like this idea. I get why you'd have to do it, but it isn't a choice. If you're playing this game, you have to PvP. You aren't given the option of not PvPing. So
yes. Well, you are strongly incentivized to, for sure. Because, for instance, and I was watching a video before that made this point, and it was a really good one. If you want to have access to a certain raid that is only available at like tier 5 or 6 in your node, and someone else has got a node 6 right next door, you've got to de-level their node to get access to that raid, right? So you're now incentivized to go be a part of the raid on that node, and so you'll have PvE players supporting the PvP push to get access to PvE content. I just think that's a very interesting
and that is a good way to pull the people in who may not be wanting necessarily to participate, but it still feels like it's artificially forced to me.
Yes, indeed. All right, so you come at me, sir, with your next one. What do you got? Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
Given that we are such good friends and we met playing SWTOR, you hardly can argue with this last one.
Okay.
And that is ensuring that players have time to form social bonds. I made friends in playing EverQuest, and you mentioned you made friends in Galaxies that you still have to this day. These are people who I met online, some of whom I've never met in person. These people are still important to me. I have far fewer people in my life from games that have zero downtime, like a World of Warcraft. Having downtime gives you the ability to share information about content, get to know each other, just chit chat, and gives you time to like, you know, step away for a second or two if you need to. You know, your reputation in Pantheon is going to matter. People are going to have to be nice. If you get a bad reputation in a game where you level slowly and that everybody gets to know you, it's not going to be good if you have a bad reputation.
Sure.
Right. Whereas in a game like WoW, $25, I could just change my name. So,
right,
you know,
problem solved.
Exactly. I'll server transfer.
Yeah.
You know, and I know people who you know made a couple mistakes, or you know just made bad choices in game in their interactions with others, and in EverQuest, and they never recovered from it. They had to restart on another server in order to kind of to be able to play the game and you know like rebuild a reputation. So,
right,
that's it. Social bonds.
Yes, I think downtime is exceptionally important. Now, how they execute it is going to be the question, right? Because you don't want to just be, okay, hey, guess what? You've reached the cap on XP or whatever else you can do this week. Stand around and do nothing. Well, someone's going to log out, right? There's got to be something to incentivize what do I do during downtime? And I remember in Galaxies there was the Mos Eisley Cantina, right? Like it was the den of scum and villainy if ever there was one. But that's where we would all hang out, and I spent hours and hours late into the night. I was sitting, you know, there, just hanging out with people, watching, you know, dancers perform and that kind of thing. So there was a good community built around the downtime.
Right.
So I agree. I absolutely think it's important.
Well, this is downtime. They're speaking specifically here, I think anyway, about downtime in a group. In between combat, you need time to regenerate your mana. Make sure everybody's healed, because going in half healed is not going to be a good idea. So that's the kind of downtime I think that they're speaking to here, not just doing other things in game. In EverQuest, it was you actually, when EverQuest first came out, you actually had to, if you were a cleric or a caster, you actually had to open up your spellbook and just like your whole screen was taken up by your spellbook. You couldn't see anything or do anything because you were studying your spellbook and regenerating your mana. They eventually did change that to where you could look around and see what was going on. So you weren't like ambushed by stuff, but it still was you know, there was that downtime and it was important. So
you and I do a Dungeons and Dragons, you know, thing outside of this, right? It's very much like a wizard, right? Like you have to study your spells. And so you need those short rests to be able to recover some of that. And so I'm glad to see that kind of a kind of mechanic showing back up.
So what about you? What's your final point?
Okay, so this gets more to world design. It's not enough to have a world. Here's a nice, wonderful map, and there's monsters in it. Go kill them. To me, that's unidimensional. Now, you're halfway there, right? Because that does matter. But there's got to be a reason. There's got to be lore. There's got to be history. There's got to be geopolitics. There's so many different layers to the complexity. So when on day one you step into the world, not only are you learning where you are, you're learning when you are. You're learning why you are. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more to the context of this thing. And one of those aspects that I really like from what I'm seeing so far is the design of religion in Ashes of Creation. So from what I've been able to tell so far, there's really kind of 6 primary religions. There's an underrealm religion as well, but it kind of revolves around 10 main gods. Kind of the brief overview of it is that it's really kind of more of a motivation thing more than an aesthetic. So it's not, hey, I'm dark, so I've got to wear black, right? I'm evil, so we're all the dark people. You know, we wear dark, brooding colors. Although you can if you want to, but it's the motivation, right? And so what they have is as you and you can join a religion, and that will unlock quest chains for that religion, and you can level up in your religion. So you can, if you join the religion of the Order of Fate, right, or the Order of Truth, you know, there's a goddess of love. There's actually, you know, certain aspects that they have. But now you enter that religion, you can level up, and as you level up, there are rewards, of course. So you have access to certain shops. There's titles that you can wear, you know, divine nodes, for instance. There's siege event roles that will be available to you, for instance, that you can play based on being maybe a priest of that temple. Very cool right there. So and then if you can actually switch religions if you want, so you can drop that and lose all of that. It's kind of like losing your religion kind of a thing. Right, exactly. but you can lose your religion,
Right.
and then you can go that way and try something else and level up in a
Okay.
different religion.
So it's kind of like a game,
I love
a game
that.
within a game.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say. Well, maybe it's a game within a game, but it's another layer of complexity, right? You're an acolyte of your religion. You're learning, there's quests that it allows you to do, but you really become almost like a zealot or I don't know what it'll turn into, but you become an advanced, higher level representative, like an emissary of that kind of religion. If you want to go there, again, that's also optional.
I wonder, will these gods become like raid bosses? And if so, would you be prevented from fighting the goddess of fate if you were a worshiper of her?
I wonder.
That'd be cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a question we'll need to put in our bag.
Yeah.
And then hopefully fire at some divs one day. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, I think that lore is fantastic. The more lore, the better. The more things to explore and find, as you said in the beginning. So adding this in there is a good thing. It'll be interesting to see also the perception of these various religions. Will they have will the Order of Truth be filled up with a bunch of paladin like players, and will the god of goddess of love be filled with some more hippie types? Who knows?
Hippie Aphrodites, right? Hippie types, love it. Hey, they got to go somewhere. They have to have some religion to be a part of. So
fantastic. I saw nothing wrong with any of your 4 things that you chose. They're all excellent things, and I'm looking forward to learning about them, even if they are for Ashes of Creation.
You just wait, sir. There's more coming.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I fully agreed. I think it's interesting how you and I saw the same question and kind of saw different things that matter to us, and I kind of like that that we have such vastly different takes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it's us.
Yeah.
It's you and.
So we have a website. It is disparateworlds.org, and on our website, I have started a blog series on the tenets of Pantheon, a few of which I've touched on today. So stop by disparateworlds.org and check it out. I welcome any comments as the series unfolds.
Yeah, he's really trying to convince me, but we'll see. He wants me to read his content. All right, so just a couple of news things. We are going to try. I mean, we are going to cover the news. That's going to be important to us to make sure that we are keeping you up to date with what all is happening in these 2 respective games. Where it happens in the episode, that'll range a little bit depending on where things are. Again, we have mentioned, and right kind of closer to the beginning of the episode, we will have a couple of links in the description. Check them out below. The Lazy Peon is the one who covered Ashes of Creation with a phenomenal video. And Nathan Napalm, he's the one that we're going to link with his video on Pantheon. So very cool. Do check those out. Another thing, just a quick thing to throw out there, Ashes of Creation is doing its glorious Gourd contest right now. So the link for that below. Entries are due by October 27th. But if you are a pumpkin carver or a graphic designer who can pretty much fake pumpkin carving, this one is for you. So there's some templates. Do check out that page because they explain to you, kind of the rules and what you need to do. It's out there. 3 winners in 3 different categories, one of which is the main category. Who wins there's a Radeon RX 5700 video card up for grabs for that. But all 3 of those winners will receive Alpha 1 keys, and I think that's what everyone's coveting, is to get into Alpha, man, because you could be playing by the end of the year. So very cool. Last thing on the news list is that Chris Joppa Perkins is going to be, actually, by the time we air this episode, he will have been on Theory Forge. He's showing up to do an interview. So we're going to link that, as we work on this episode and go live. We'll link that in the description, so go check that out as well.
And just a couple final things before we wrap up. One of them is we have a Discord server. Link will be in the description below. Please join there. We'd love to talk with you about Pantheon and Ashes of Creation, and get a chance to get to know you and see what you guys think about the both games. And there's lots of cool things on there. You can pick which team you're on. Are you on Team Pantheon? Are you on Team Ashes of Creation? So please do check that out. Again, link in the description. In addition,
you know what to vote for. Please continue.
In addition, for each episode, we are going to give you the chance to compete with other fans of Disparate Worlds in our Comquest Battle.
Yes, well pronounced.
We will pose a question to you, and your task will be to come up with the correct answer. The first closest answer will get pinned in our comments, and you can claim the title of Comqueror of the episode. Yes, I did make that up.
Yes, very well pronounced also.
This episode's Comquest is, how many gigabytes was my video file for our epic trailer? Again, the closest guess will get pinned.
Yes, indeed. Yes, you want to be the Comqueror. Getting your comment pinned is kind of cool. That'll be it for the episode. Thanks you all for watching. Definitely drop a comment. Don't forget to do the like, the subscribe, and definitely hit the notification bell. You're going to want to do that so that you will not miss upcoming episodes. I think that's it for us. Take care of yourselves, and remember always to be immovable in your principles and irresistible in your passion.